How's it going, everybody? We have an interesting video for you today because today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on Battle World 2. We did get to play test the entirety of Sentry City Battle World 2, the 3 zones, and the Sentry boss fight. I had a lot of fun and I got a lot of thoughts. So today we're going to be talking about the good, the bad, and yes, the ugly of Sentry City. Now I'm just going to be having sort of gameplay footage from my playtest running in the background. There's no particular nodes I really need to zone in on and dissect, so we're just going to be talking kind of the review of the game mode. And let's start with the good. Let's start with some sweetness, alright? There is a lot of good thematic tie-ins to the Sentry City Battle World. We got some interesting bosses like Graviton, the entirety of what would be the MCU Thunderbolt / New Avengers team, right? We got Yelena, we got Red Guardian is the mini-boss with Winter Soldier, Ghost, and I don't think Taskmaster's there. If you've seen the movie, you know. And then we have a new stage that was designed for Sentry City, for the Sentry boss fight, the same way Null got his own sort of stage. I think the Null stage is a lot better, but the Sentry stage has some moving parts, so that's cool. We're also going to see other stages that you may not even know existed, like the Apocalypse stage. Yes, they did create a new Apocalypse battle stage that is hidden in the Apocalypse saga. If you unlocked them years ago, you may never have seen it. And we're seeing them reuse that Fantastic Four stage. I like this. Get those assets going. Let's fight on all kinds of different stages. It does add flavor to the game. As far as the boss fight goes, the lack of barrier was very noticeable, and that was fun, and they do have some cool new music for the boss fight, which is more like punk rock than heavy metal, like Null was, which I think will be more appealing to a broader audience, and Sentry's animations, which I guess will be the animations that we will have for our playable Sentry. They're awesome. They're way better than Null's was. For the Null one, they were kind of playing around with it. You know the Odin ultimate where it just kind of flashes on the screen, it's like, and then he does his thing, and he did the same thing with Null, right? But for Sentry, he goes up in the air, he gets this big rock, and he's like, oh, like, kind of like a Red Hulk ultimate, I would say, but with cooler angles, which I thought, I respected that. All right, we had some slight changes to the game design. And I did like those slight changes. They're kind of leaning into those Danger Room combat mods. It is sort of used to steer you into using certain teams, though we do have some thoughts on that. But there were some fun things to play into. The poker hand on the Chaos node was great. Have a certain amount of characters be Raider, get X effect. Have one of each, and you get offense up and speed up on spawn. I just always led into that one, and that was great. Obviously, there's going to be a downside of having to spend extra ISO to lean into the ones you want, but I don't think you necessarily have to lean into them, and that'll be built into my next point. It's a really easy mode to build for currently. So most nodes can be beaten with the non-buff teams. Orcus will handle any tech node. Old Man Logan will handle the mutant node. Fantastic Four and Undying will actually beat the Brimstone nodes. So Brimstone is not necessary for 2 out of the 3 nodes where they get a direct call out, even though they get all those nice buffs. And I thought that was really cool. And if a node really demands the buff team, it's typically a raid team, right? So the Bio node, there's Thunderbolts for that. Skilled node, Vigilante, you're getting the call out. If the tech nodes, they're getting the Insidious 6 call out, so you don't have to feel like you got to go build your Orcus team because they're no longer the raid team, right? So it is a really easy mode to build for. I would just be worried what if we didn't just get a slew of raid teams, right? What if we got a bunch of War and Crucible teams, because we do, Hellfire gets a call out as well, because we do see an Accursed tag node there. It's kind of buddied up with the Hellfire node, so it doesn't feel as bad, but what if we had just gotten a bunch of War and Crucible teams, and you got to build up those bigger now, and then it kind of feels like Raid 2.0, but with all new teams. And I would be concerned about that, but we could talk about that on another video. Sentry Shards. So I can't really see the appropriate rewards on the playtest, but I did just check the live server, and it looks like you will get 50 Sentry Shards for putting up a score of 14 million, which I do not believe will be possible first week. We'll talk about difficulties in the first week a little bit later on, in the ugly part, of course. And it does look like you're going to be getting a minimum of 50 Sentry Shards on the normal difficulty if you knock him out one time, which means for like really, really new players, after 2 battle worlds, they will have their Sentry unlocked. I don't think it was that fast for Null. And I would assume that once we get to difficulty 6, it's actually going to be 100 Sentry Shards, because it's showing 100 Null Shards right now on the playtest, which means that we'll probably be building up Sentry to the max star level a lot faster than we built up Null, which makes sense because they've already kind of committed to having Battle World 3 in early 2026. We're not going to be getting a year-long Sentry City Battle World 2 like we got a year-long Null, so I think that's good. That's kind of it for the good. So let's get into the bad. The mini-bosses. The mini-bosses were very thematic, and that's cool, but they were also pretty much meaningless. The Graviton mini-boss and the Red Guardian mini-boss it didn't matter what their mechanics were because we just tore through them. It just didn't matter. And this was with 7 red stars, gear tier 19 characters. So on the live server, if you have some gear tier 20 characters from Professor X or your past Professor X, you get to put some gear tier 20 characters up there, and you have diamonds on some of these characters, because diamonds are not exactly super rare once you get to the 7th red star. They're going to become even more meaningless. They're definitely just going to become a get in there and hit that sim button. On the other hand, the Omega Red, with the 7 red star Fantastic Four team fighting him, his drain was killing you before you can get through his on-spawn buffs, because they do buff him up with a bunch of things like you would see in, I guess in Battle World I do believe they do this, but they also do this in some Scourges, and they've done it in Dark Dimensions before, where he spawns in with 3 immunity and 3 safeguard. So you're sitting there like, I can't do anything till he takes a turn. And his passive, because he has like 40 million life or something like that, it is hitting you for about 10% of your life every single time anybody takes a turn. And then his damage goes crazy. Now, with 7 red star Fantastic Four, you can't beat that. But with Diamond Fantastic Four and some gear tier 20, I'm pretty sure you would just kill him, like, very, very fast. So, yeah, the mini-bosses kind of didn't hit the mark for me. Thematically, looking at what you're walking into is cool, and then the second you get in there, it is a big letdown. All right, another bad thing, it is a build check. Most nodes, particularly the nodes where it feels you have to use the combat mod team, we're talking about like the bio node with the Thunderbolts team, the skill node with Vigilante, it just feels like it's just a build check. If you have them at 7 red stars, you can kind of get through it, a little bit of suffering. The second you have diamonds or gear tier 20, it's going to be auto. You're going to get in there, you're going to hit that auto button, and you're just going to walk away, because the way the build check is designed is basically off rip. You're either going to have to tank some hits and survive it, or you just need to hit certain damage checks. And as soon as you hit those damage checks, the puzzle of the node is solved, right? So I did not particularly like the way they installed it as a build check. I understand build checks are important to see players build up certain teams at certain levels, but I thought it was done in a not super creative way. Enemy design. Oh man, the enemy design, this might have been more deserved in the ugly category. There is a Quasar and Blaster node where you only get to use those 2 characters. You do not get to fill in the other 3 slots. And you're facing Kree minions. And I guess you're facing Ronin and Minerva, who might as well be minions. I guess Korath too, right? They might as well be minions. Really cool idea. It's like, hey, these are 2 legendary characters. You're going to get to use them. Give them some combat mods. Turn war rules on. Turn crucible rules on. And have some fun with it. But then you throw Kree minions into the equation. And just sitting here like, but why? Why would you do that? Other node composition I take some issues with. We have some really old characters like Guardians and Invaders. On the surface, it's not a bad thing, but what you would want to see if they want to lean into some older characters is some cool combat mods that affect those teams, so we get to face off against those enemies, experience their cool animations in like a new way. Maybe players haven't faced off against those teams. You'd want to face them with them doing something interesting, so you get that experience of facing them, but also you get the experience of them doing something interesting instead of dying to a slight breeze, because it seemed like any sort of character that was released before Ares didn't exactly get the post-Ares stats. They just fell over, and that would include characters like Storm and Captain Sam Falcon. It was really awkward. There is node with like 8 hit monkeys, which, I mean, Barrel of Monkeys, Danger Room, like that's super fun. It doesn't play the same in PvE content that's going to be repeatable every single time we have a new battle world. And what's that going to be? Weekly? Bi-weekly? Like, what's the deal there? It doesn't play the same. We had 20 Dooms. They might have been Doom bots. Like, if you knocked them down, they just didn't really do that whole speed bar and then the alt thing. There was like a node with 4,000 Ultron bots. Okay, right? Like, leaning into thematic stuff like that can be interesting, and it could be a fun gameplay experience, but if it's not accompanied with mechanics that make them a interesting puzzle, they're there to just be there and then they die instantly, then it really takes the fun out of it, okay? And now we get to the ugly. And the ugly for me really does hurt Battle World, and I hope that they can learn a lot, and that this is just a stopgap between Battle World 1, Null, and Battle World 3, whatever character that's going to be. I hope this is just a halfway point, because there was definitely some improvements, but there needs to be a lot more. Difficulties. Having to fight orange-geared characters in the first week is really dumb. You gotta figure out a way that we are not stuck starting on the normal difficulty. They figured this out for raids, right? With the IDR, individual difficulty selector, whatever they call that. And the Omega raid for the Chaos, I don't think we had to start on the lowest difficulty. Whatever you did there, you have to do that going forward for Battle Worlds. I understand it's just 1 week, right? So they did make it so that as soon as you score, I think it's 50,000 victory points, you can do any difficulty you want. And that's fantastic. That's great. But you're taking the wind right out of the sails of Battle World 2 by making people do the most autoable content ever, right? I think the enemies have like 80,000 collection power. So this first week, when we start it today, it's going to be get in, you one-shot everything, get in, one-shot everything, get in, one-shot. You will experience zero actual gameplay if you're even a mid-level player. And that really takes the hype out of the release of this sort of game mode, all right? And hype is everything here, because once people experience the Sentry fight the first time, it's not going to be the same the second time when he's actually doing damage. It's going to feel really awkward. So this is a really horrible way to start it. I honestly would have postponed Battle World until you figured out how to open it up, starting at whatever difficulty alliances want to get in there at. Okay. Next, once a player with the right teams, whether you have to have the Bio Thunderbolt team or the Vigilante team or the Brimstone team for that Zone 2 Brimstone / Secret Warriors node, once you have the team unlocked and built up with a couple Gear Tier 20 characters or maybe a couple diamonds and some of the rework characters, it's going to be auto play with no sim button. You're going to have to get in there and hit auto. And there's going to be some sort of, maybe there'll be some sort of wipe, right? So you're going to get in there. It's going to be about 3 minutes of combat where you just have to wait for the game to play itself. And if you die, well, you just go back in and you try it again, because it's not worth your thought at that point. It's not worth your time. And I think that is a big issue when it comes to the day-to-day play for Battle World, is that they have not found that way to... it's not creative. They have not found a way for players to creatively express themselves with their gameplay in Battle World 2. And I think that there are a couple really fun ways they could do that with a game mode like this. And again, I'm really hopeful that's going to come in Battle World 3. The boss mechanics. Okay, the boss mechanics are something I take a huge issue with, because it seemed like it was a copy-paste of the Null boss fight, but they did take out the barrier. And that was great, right? Take out the barrier, that means we're never going to have these instances where you're just doing absolutely zero damage to Sentry, but you're still not able to control him. You're not able to stop sort of his big burst damage windows. They're just going to happen when they happen. And that just makes it so reflexive defense buffs are king. Astral vastly outperforms Brimstone at even levels. I didn't try Mephisto Astral. I assumed that they would do even better. It's not a particularly interesting fight after you experience it the first time. Cool animations, really good song. We get to see some characters we haven't seen in a long while, like a Moonstone, Bullseye. Hey, Captain America's back there. Thor, that's cool. And then, wow, they do nothing. They get a little bit stronger as the match goes on, but it's really not much, right? The speed mechanics feel even more smothering than Null. There comes a point when all of a sudden Sentry is doing 2 attacks instead of 1, so he's taking all your buffs off and then he's one-shotting you. It's like, oh, okay then, right? It's a 5-minute fight, 5-minute maximum fight. It doesn't need to be that smothering. There's already a hard cap on what you're going to be able to accomplish via the timer, so why have it be uncontrollable? It doesn't mesh well into one another, okay? And that also goes for the max damage cap. The max damage cap being at 4 million, I think it was at 4 million for both Sentry and the Void form. I thought it was supposed to go up to 5 million, but I did not feel that. It feels real bad. It feels real bad. I lost interest after the second fight when the novelty of the music and the animations wore off. I set it up. I set myself up because I did it. Maybe it showed at some point during this video. But I set myself up for disappointment when I got a defense down on Sentry and Professor X had his ultimate up. And the first turn, I did the basic, and it did 4 million damage. And then the next turn, I did the ultimate, and it did 4 million damage. And that doesn't feel good. That's not a good gaming experience. They need to find a way to break that max damage cap. I need to be able to do 20 million damage on a Professor X ultimate with offense up into defense down. But that's part of the game, is these big damage windows, these big abilities. What's the point of having this big, beautiful ability if the basic attack is going to take less time off the clock and does the same amount of damage? What are we doing, right? Part of our game is how beautiful the kits are designed, and the kits are designed very beautifully, with the exception of the Sentry boss fight, having all the speed mechanics choked off. That's something that they got to fix. I understand there's probably some big limitation when it comes to max health damage characters. Honestly, ban those characters from use if you have to. Get the damage cap off. Say you cannot use Apocalypse, you cannot use Odin, you cannot use Minerva, you cannot use Braun. Any character that does percentage damage, take them away, right? If that's what you have to do so that all the other characters can actually shine and we can see some interesting damage numbers and some interesting compositions, we can make big burst windows into Sentry and really pull off some fun numbers, that's what you have to do. Because it is so smothering with the speed and so limited with the damage cap, it just doesn't make any sense. And again, with that 5-minute damage or 5-minute combat timer, it feels unnecessary also. I don't know from a tech limitation standpoint if what I'm saying is asking too much. I just feel like it's not. I feel like it's just something you have to do. And finally, the rewards. The only meaningful rewards to Battle World are the Sentry Shards, which is not bad. Like, Sentry's, he looks like he's going to be an amazing character. Null was an amazing character, and that's fun, right? But in this game, rewards really drive engagement. There's no leaderboard for this. So why would I engage with this mode past just making sure I hit that 14 million milestone marker on Battle World with me and my alliance, right? Why would I want to craft interesting Sentry boss fight teams? Why would I worry about the bonus node where I need Blue Marvel to even get... Yeah, there's literally a node where you cannot beat it without Blue Marvel. And even with Blue Marvel, I'm not sold that he's going to get it done, honestly. Why, as a player, should I be excited to improve on my Battle World combats from month to month or week to week, whenever it's going to be, right? I think the lack of a leaderboard definitely hurts that. If it doesn't even need to be very much, honestly. If they would just give, like, every Battle World, you can earn enough. If your alliance does all those Brimstone missions, and if you get the highest milestone, or you knock out... Why don't you put higher milestones on there? Why don't you put, like, Sentry knockout markers? Hey, if you knock out Sentry 10 times as an alliance, you're going to get 200 ISO purple blue. What? ISO purple. ISO purple 4. 200,000. That's enough to equip one crystal. Just any little bit of that sort of resource would go a long way in increasing the drive, the engagement players want to put into Battle World. And I think that's true across the game. So that's going to be a different video. We're going to have to talk about the lack of interesting rewards and how it's hurting the various game modes. But it's definitely very apparent here in Battle World. Battle World feels like Raids 2.0. That's going to be a checkbox you hit to get your Sentry Shards. Everyone's going to get Sentry at the same rate. If you're an alliance that can handle difficulty 6 and you can equip your Astral Team and hit auto across your alliance. And that feels pretty bad. Is it worse than Battle World 1? No. I would say it's marginally more fun than Battle World 1, but I found Battle World 1 to be one of the worst chores in Marvel Strike Force. And I'm being very rough here, and I'm sure they've worked hard on it, but I just feel like the opportunities to have successful game mode launches is rare, and you've really got to stick the landing. I feel like this landing wasn't stuck. And I'm hopeful that they're going to be able to fix the ship on Battle World 3. If they keep making the same speed of improvements they did from Battle World to Battle World 2, then I actually would not have as much hope for Battle World 3. I think they really need to lean into something that changes gameplay a lot more than combat mods just kind of plucked off Danger Room. Anyway, let me know what you thought about my thoughts here about the gameplay that was running in the back. Let me know if you're excited for Sentry City. I don't want to yuck your yum. I think that Battle World Sentry City is going to be a lot of fun for a lot of players, especially in the opening, first 2 to 3 iterations of it. And after that, it's going to feel a lot like Battle World 1 if you experience that. So if you enjoyed Battle World 1, then you're definitely going to enjoy Battle World 2 because it was improved upon. And that's that. All right, guys. Hope this video found you well. Hope you are happy, healthy, having yourselves a wonderful start to the week. We had Thanksgiving, so it's actually the start of the week is right now for me. So hopefully you already started your week off well. I'm rambling. Have yourselves a good day, and I'll see you guys in the comment sections. Ask me any questions you want, and I will answer you as truthfully and fast as I can. All right, bye-bye.